Then Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 6 matchup between the LSU Tigers and the Missouri Tigers, two teams that are in very different positions as we look forward to Week 6. LSU is a team that obviously had very high expectations heading into the season. This team expected to return big into national contention. But suddenly, this team has already taken 2 losses this season. The pressure is on for LSU as they take on a Mizzou team that is on the rise right now. This team is 5-0 on the season. They are silently undefeated still. And for all we know, if Missouri can win this matchup, this team is suddenly a big SEC contender. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. LSU lost to Ole Miss last week, 49-55. Just a brutal loss for LSU. I mean, an incredible matchup between those two teams, and it went back and forth all the way. But LSU just so happened to be on the losing end of that, and because of that, this team dropped quite a bit in the top 25. But I still feel like this is a team that is they're still very dangerous, a very talented football team that, I mean, personally, I still have them ranked in the top 20. I feel like LSU is still a very good football team. They've just been on the wrong end of a couple of really tough losses. Obviously, the Ole Miss one being the one that definitely could have gone either way. But Florida State, that was a convincing loss. Lost to them 45-24. But for LSU at this point, 3-2, obviously the pressure is on as college football playoff hopes are definitely looking slim at this point. I mean, it's still possible with still being at the beginning of conference play. They just have to win the SEC at this point. But Missouri on the other side beat Vanderbilt 38-27. And Missouri this season offensively has actually looked really good. In the offseason, I did predict this team to start the season 5-0, and I thought LSU would maybe be a little bit better at this point, but Missouri at this point, being ranked 21st in the country, very much a team to keep an eye on moving forward. And I mean, if Mizzou can win this matchup, suddenly this is a 6-0 team that is probably your second best team in the SEC East. Games will be on Saturday, October 7th in Columbia. Missouri is the home team for this matchup. And your kickoff is 11 a.m. Central. Spread's going with LSU by 6.5. So despite the Tigers being a 2-loss team versus an undefeated team in this matchup, they're still favored by about a touchdown. Over under 63. FPI is going with LSU as well, 70%. So, I mean, LSU, lower ranked team, worse record, but I mean, this is still a very talented football team that has played a pretty tough schedule to this point, so it makes sense. Series history, Missouri leads at 2-1. This is something that actually really surprised me. We haven't seen these two teams play each other hardly at all. We've seen these two teams play each other twice since Missouri joined the SEC about a decade ago. So, and those games were in 2016 and 2020. LSU won in 16, Missouri won in 2020. Stat comparison for this one, LSU 15th in points per game this season. This is a strong offensive team, but defensively this team has shown that they're a bit vulnerable. You consider they allowed 45 points to Florida State, obviously allowed 31 to Arkansas, and then 55 to Ole Miss. Makes sense for this team to be pretty low in points allowed so far this season. They are 4th in passers a game. Jaden Daniels has been incredible so far this year, 1,700 yards already of passing, along with 16 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and that's why I feel like you just can't count out this LSU team quite yet. They're still very much a dangerous team that should not be overlooked. But for passing, pass defense has been an issue, 118th in the country there, and 93rd in rush defense. But as for Missouri, this team is 42nd in points per game, 47th in points allowed. They are 9th in passers a game, 82nd in rush yards. And then for yards allowed, 101st in pass defense, 10th in rush defense. All things considered, this is a really good matchup for Missouri. 9th in passers a game, going up against one of the worst pass defenses in the nation so far this season in LSU. So, I mean, that's something you want to keep an eye on here, is Missouri being at home. The matchup is pretty good for Mizzou if you look at it statistically. Your recent matchups, LSU lost to Ole Miss last week by 6, and obviously the 3 wins between the Grambling wins 72-10. The offense really shined there. Beat Mississippi State on the road 41-14 and the close win over Arkansas. But for Missouri on the other side, beat South Dakota in week 1. Beat Middle Tennessee only by 4. Seeing them only win that matchup by 4 was definitely concerning, especially, they're not even that good of a football team. Kansas State beat them 30-27. That's really the win that has pushed this team into the rankings so far this season. Definitely the most impressive win to date. And Mizzou won that game off of like a 60-yard field goal. Just insane. And obviously Memphis is not a bad team so far this season. So a nice win there, 34-27, and then beat Vanderbilt on the road to open up conference play, 38-21. Your key points for this one, LSU, they've taken 2 losses so far this season. Still a dangerous team. They're far and away the best 2-loss team in the country so far this year. Jaden Daniels in this offense has been great. That has not been the issue for this team. It's just been the defense at times giving up points, and that's been an issue. This defense needs to be better if LSU wants to be a contender, and obviously they got a lot of work to do moving forward, as especially in the Florida State matchup. It just got out of hand quickly, and against Ole Miss allowing 55, that's definitely an issue for this LSU team right now. But for Missouri on the other side, this is a tough team, especially on offense. And Brady Cook, a quarterback who really hasn't had much noise before this season, he hasn't thrown a pick yet, and he's thrown nearly 1,500 yards of offense and 11 touchdowns. Really impressive start for Brady Cook. Keep an eye on him moving forward. He's a guy that definitely should not be overlooked. And this is a huge opportunity for him, going up against an LSU pass defense that has shown to be a bit vulnerable so far this season. This is a huge opportunity for him and for this Missouri football team. Obviously, Luther Burden's been an incredible receiver so far. He's got more receiving yards than even Malik Neighbors so far this season. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And for Missouri here as well, this would really put this team on the map, I think. If they can get up to 6-0, I really don't think any team's beating out Georgia for the SEC East, but the number 2 position is wide open, and Missouri could take full control of that if they can win this matchup. So lots at stake here for both teams, and a lot of storylines heading into this matchup in Week 6. And with that, let's get to the prediction here for LSU and Mizzou coming up here in Week 6. This one is as close to 50-50 as it gets for me. Really went back and forth on it, but LSU, I got to go with the Tigers here. 38-34 is my predicted final score. I think Missouri being at home, and also the matchup being pretty good for Mizzou. Brady Cook against a poor LSU pass defense so far this season. But the talent of LSU, this offense so far this season, Missouri has also shown that their defense is a bit vulnerable. So LSU and Jaden Daniels in this offense, I think they find a way and get the win here, even though it might not be pretty for the defense. I think this is going to be a higher scoring matchup. Wouldn't be surprised if it was even higher scoring than this, honestly. But I'm going to say LSU 55%, over under 63. I'm taking the over for that, and Missouri to cover the spread in the end. Really what it came down to for me is Jaden Daniels. He's been incredible so far this season. The past couple of years for LSU, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and for LSU being a 3-2 football team right now, the pressure is obviously on for LSU, and they got to find a way to get a win in this matchup. And in the end, I do think that they do. But Missouri's going to keep it close, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Mizzou found a way and got the win in this one. But in the end, give me LSU. But with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. Who do you think wins this matchup? Score predictions, all that. Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.